Welcome back to Sparked in the Quiet. There are moments when you just stop and realize Jesus really sees you. Not the polished version, not the parts you put together so people think you're okay, but you. The unfiltered, messy, raw version that doesn't always know what to say or how to pray. And somehow, He loves you there. That's what I think about when I read this story in Luke 7. When Jesus is invited to the home of a Pharisee named Simon. They're sitting down to dinner, and a woman walks in. She's not invited. She's not someone that people look up to. In fact, most people in that room probably wish she wasn't there at all. But she comes anyway. The Bible says she brings an alabaster jar of perfume, and she kneels behind Jesus at his feet, weeping. Her tears fall on his feet, and she wipes them with her hair. She kisses them and pours the perfume on them. And Simon, the man who invited Jesus, starts thinking to himself, if Jesus really were a prophet, he would know what kind of woman this is. But Jesus knows exactly who she is. And in verse 44, he turns toward the woman and says to Simon, "Do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair." It's such a small moment on paper, but it's everything. Because for the first time in a long time, someone truly saw her. I think about how many of us live like that woman, moving through life feeling unseen, misunderstood, or quietly judged. Maybe we've made mistakes. Maybe people have labeled us by our past or by who we used to be. And we start to believe that's all we'll ever be known for. But then Jesus walks into the story. And instead of turning away, he turns toward us. He looks past the reputation, past the shame, past what everyone else has said, and he calls out what's still sacred in us. He doesn't see failure. He sees love. He doesn't see ruin. He sees redemption waiting to bloom. He doesn't see the mess. He sees the person who's trying to come home. You know what I love most about this passage? Jesus just doesn't acknowledge the woman. He defends her. In front of people who dismissed her, he lifts her up. He doesn't shame her for her past. He honors her for her love. He shows Simon that while he offered no water, no kiss, no oil, this woman, this broken, beautiful soul, gave him everything she had. That's what grace looks like in motion. And I wonder if maybe that's exactly what some of us need to hear today. That Jesus still defends you, still speaks up for you, still turns toward you, even when the room seems to turn away. There's something sacred about that kind of love. Because we live in a world that says, prove yourself first. But Jesus says, come as you are. We live in a world that measures worth by how much we can fix. But Jesus measures love by how much we surrender. Maybe you've been walking through life feeling like you've got to earn God's affection, as if you have to do something spectacular for Him to really notice you. But this woman did something most people couldn't understand. She gave from her heart. She didn't come with a script. She didn't even say a word. Her tears were her prayer. And Jesus called it beautiful. Let's pause there for a moment. Because maybe you've been holding a part of yourself back from God. Maybe it's because you think He wouldn't want that part, the tired part, the ashamed part, the doubtful part. But that's exactly where He meets you. He doesn't need you to clean up your pain before coming close. He just wants the real you, the one behind the smile, the one behind the silence. That's where healing begins. Not in perfection, but in His presence. Sometimes we spend so much time wondering whether God will still love us if we stumble again. And yet, He's not shocked by your struggles. He's not surprised by your battles. He's simply saying, come closer. That's what this woman did. She came closer when it didn't make sense. When everyone else told her she wasn't worthy. She brought her heart and her tears to Jesus. And He saw her. He saw her faith in her footsteps, her love in her surrender, her courage in her tears. Maybe you've been praying for something for a long time, and it feels like nothing's changing. Maybe you've been trying to hold on, but you're running out of strength. I want you to remember something. Your presence before God is enough. Your presence before God is enough. You don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to impress him. He already knows. He already cares. There's something powerful about just sitting in that truth. That you are seen. That you are loved. That you are still welcome. There's a moment in every believer's life where they realize they're not the hero of their story. Jesus is. And when you let him take that place in your life, you start to see the beauty that was there all along. That woman didn't walk out of that house the same. She walked out restored, whole, free. Not because of what she did, but because of who she met. Maybe you've been sitting in silence, thinking your story is too complicated for God to fix. But what if he's already at work in ways you can't see? What if your tears are watering the soil where your healing will grow? And what if the moment you thought would break you is the very moment he's using to bring you home? That's who he is. He redeems. He restores. He rebuilds. He turns what looks like an ending into a quiet beginning. So if you're listening right now and you feel unseen, this is for you. Jesus sees that woman in you, the one who still shows up, the one who still believes, even when belief feels heavy. He sees your love in your trying, your faith in your persistence, your beauty in your brokenness. And maybe tonight or today, whenever you're listening, this is the reminder you needed. You are not invisible to God. You are deeply, intentionally, fully seen. Luke 7, verse 44 to 45 isn't just an old story. It's a reflection of what Jesus is still doing today. He's still turning toward the ones the world turns away from. He's still honoring the hearts that feel unseen. And he's still offering love where judgment once stood. That's the kind of love that changes everything. Because once you've been seen by Jesus, you can't go back to hiding. Once you've been loved like that, you start to see yourself differently. You start to realize that even when people misunderstood you, God never did. So maybe this is your moment, your quiet reminder that you don't have to earn His attention. You already have it. And in that truth, there's peace. Not because life suddenly feels easy, but because you know you're not walking through it alone. Before we close, just take this in for a second. If Jesus could see that woman for who she truly was and call her forgiven, beloved, whole, then He can see you too. Even when the world sees your flaws, He sees your faith. Even when others see your past, He sees your purpose. Even when you doubt your worth, He already declared it. That's the love that never stops turning toward you. Let this spark carry you. One step, one moment, one breath at a time.